What's going on, ladies and gentlemen and ladies? Just gonna go make a quick video. It shouldn't take long. First, I want to address a myth that I believe is a myth, and this is why you can hardly ever trust black people in the plight of black people in this country. You can rest assured that you cannot trust what black people say happened to black people in this country, to the tune that I'm willing to not believe 90% of people's lies about racism and all these other things. It is now gotten to the point where it is impossible for me to believe black leaders and the black struggle in America. I'm almost to the point where I'm willing to deny 90% of what people are saying. Here's why. The Tulsa Massacre. Now, I did a little research. I watched a couple videos of people explaining it from a historical perspective. I did a little bit of research reading about the facts and circumstances surrounding the Tulsa massacre that it is today. It was a race riot before, I don't know, 2018. They turned in, these black activists and scholars turned it into the massacre of Tulsa. And let me give you some facts real quick. And this is why you cannot believe. In 20 years from now, Black Lives Matter is going to be the new Martin Luther King movement. And nobody's going to correct history. They're going to act like Black Lives Matter changed the world. But let me tell you this real quick, is that in the Tulsa race riot in the 1921, it was in 1921, so in the 20s. I think it was, let's see, June, it was May 31st through June 1st. It all started because a black kid was on an elevator. He was a shoemaker. He was on an elevator with a white woman, and he was accused of raping her. People could hear her scream from the elevator. They conveniently leave out that it was reported that she had ripped clothes, and he got charged with raping her. And let's go back to what black people say happened and why it is almost implausibility that this actually happened. They are saying, and they want you stupid enough to believe, that he got on the elevator, stepped on her toe, and when she screamed, he was being accused of rape. As if she didn't lament to the fact that he had raped her or done anything nefarious to her. So he got arrested, and a black mob of people, residents, showed up to support him, to make sure he wasn't going to get lynched, because they had heard rumors that he was going to get lynched. Some of the black people that showed up was armed. This is the first encounter. This is the first process of people that showed up to the scene. Was black people, some of which were armed, to make sure that the black kid wasn't going to get lynched in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the district of what they call Black Wall Street. Let's keep going. So in the spirit of these black people doing that, and there were white people who had heard that a black man raped a young girl on an elevator, they showed up. And reports say a shot was fired. The reports doesn't say who shot first. It says shots were fired. And 10 white people died and 2 black people died initially, or something of that nature. It was more white people that died than black people initially. And then when obviously rumors went around that these things had occurred, then more white people showed up, and it was a full out BLM. That's what it is. It was a BLM. It was white people doing what BLM does today. That is, that they felt that it was white people getting done wrong from a black man raping a white girl. They went, a fight broke out, white people died, so white people showed up and burnt the city down. That sounds to me an awful lot like what BLM do today. Yet they are here acting like when white people do it, they call it a massacre of black people. I don't know who was right and who was wrong in that, but I do know that they're misappropriating facts. Your boy Joe Biden wrote or tweeted that 300 black people died. That's not confirmed at all. The confirmed numbers were, I think, 36 people died. 36 people died. I think it was 10 white and 15 black. Confirmed. There is estimates of other numbers from 75 to 300 black people, 75 to 300 estimated, none of which is confirmed. There is none of which can be confirmed. But there was confirmed about, I think it was 20 or 36 people lost their lives in it. And for the longest, it was a race riot. Had nothing to do with a massacre of black people. And then when I was growing up, they taught us that this was white people being mad at black folks because they had Black Wall Street, as if it had something to do with black success and white retaliation of black success. When this weekend, I found out that it had nothing to do with Black Wall Street, and it had everything to do with a black man allegedly raping a white woman, and black people coming to his defense and white people coming to her defense, and a fight broke out. And just so happened, white people burnt it down. They BLM'd Tulsa, the Tulsa area, or whatever they call it, the Black Wall Street. They BLM'd Black Wall Street. That's what happened. Thousands of black people were displaced, so on and so forth. Now you tell me, explain to me how there's not a BLM massacre where you have Black Lives Matter going around the entire country, terrorizing communities, killing people, bludgeoning people. I mean, you got them going around causing terror, billions of dollars of damage, theft, larceny, looting around the entire United States of America. Not just Tulsa, not just Fort Worth, not just Houston, but the entire country. And black people, not all, because I'm only talking about the illegitimate folks who are ruining our country. The dumb, ignorant, cowardice, brain dead people who I do not like, who are ruining our country on a false narrative. All of this is fake. It's all a false narrative. And I went back years ago. I went back to look at slavery, to reevaluate slavery, because I see the lies and the manipulation from the media, black leaders, in this brain dead society that we live in called Black America. And the first legal slave owner was a black man. It blew my mind. How could it be so that black man went to court? Anthony Johnson, look it up. That the black man went to court, won a lawsuit to own other black people. So you telling me a white judge granted him ownership of two other black people as a black man in the 1600s, respected enough to go to court and have a voice in court to win the rights to own other black people for the rest of their lives. And then I went to research other people, which Anthony Johnson was a very successful, wealthy black man at the time. And as you go through the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, you see that there's a tremendous amount of black men who owned slaves, who owned other black people. Hundreds of black people owned slaves. Hundreds of black men owned hundreds of black slaves during slavery. Another thing I found out that blew my mind, I couldn't believe it. I went through and looked at the slave states and looked at the free states. And it was the exact same amount of free states as there were slave states. And then I did more research and I said, well, what percentage of white people own slaves? I thought it was 90%. It's like, the numbers have varied in different research that I've seen, but I've seen numbers, 6% is almost the highest number I've seen of white ownership of slaves in the South. 6%. So you're telling me 94% plus of white people didn't even own slaves. But yet our entire plight of the black community is because of slavery. Look at the 1920s and 30s when Black Wall Street was around and black people prospered. Single family homes were taboo. You talk about 20% single parent rate. Now it's 70%. Black people were successful. They were working hard. They were getting their stuff done. They were building things. They were building their own arenas. They were building railroads. They had jobs. They had careers. There was a quote unquote Black Wall Street. Concentration of black success and wealth in the 20s and 30s that we don't even see today after the civil rights movement. I'm starting to become skeptical of the civil rights movement and say, is the civil rights movement have a little bit of BLM in it to where we are not told the entire truth of the civil rights movement? Are we just told what Martin Luther King said on one speech? Because Martin Luther King was a socialist. Martin Luther King was a socialist. Okay, he had some conservative principles. He was a socialist. However, and those are things that I did not agree with Martin Luther King on. Now, are we just hearing his one speech and people are glorifying his one speech like they glorify BLM? Was it more? Rodney King was another one. Rodney King, when I got to the police academy, I realized that Rodney King wasn't who I thought he was, and the situation wasn't what I thought it was. I did not know that Rodney King beat a female officer almost to the point of death and then took cops on a high-speed chase. And then I went back in the context of that whole scenario. I saw them hitting him with a baton. Rodney King never complied. He never complied. The problem is when you're beating a person with a baton and they don't comply and you keep beating them, it don't look right. And to a certain degree, you have to do something different. You're just beating a man for you're getting down the street or beating a man for no reason. However, it was in no way, form, or fashion do I think that was racist. In no form or fashion do I think that he didn't deserve to get beat initially. He took him on a high-speed chase. The same Rodney King mentality is what we see from the black community even now. Rodney King is a Philando Castile, is a Eric Garner, is a Jacob Blake, is a Breonna Taylor. Rodney King is the same thing that they're doing today. Rodney King was a criminal and they beat him too long, but he deserved to get his butt beat. He deserved to be in jail for beating up that police officer, almost killing her, a female police officer, beating a woman almost to death. Rodney King was a criminal, just like the rest of these thugs. And we are brainwashing people into believing a history that never happened. That Tulsa massacre is bullcrap. That's not what happened. And the thing that bothers me the most is that black people in America, most of them, cannot be fair about anything. The culture cannot be fair. They can't be fair about anything. They can't tell the truth that Rodney King was a POS and he's not a representation of black people. However, they beat him too long. They can't say that. He has to become a god. They can't say that George Floyd did not deserve to die, that it was wrong that he died, but George Floyd was a POS. He had no business being represented in the black community. He is not finna get a casket and a golden casket, and a funeral and murals and remembrance of the day he died. That joke is a POS. Ruining the black community almost every year of his life. And all of a sudden he becomes a god. Jacob Blake. They got Jacob Blake on the helmets of football teams. Jacob Blake raped a woman. Well, he sexually assaulted a woman. Did digital penetration. I mean, he assaulted her with his hand, digitally, with his fingers, whatever you want to call it. He was zone restricted from his baby mama's house and this whole city. Yet he showed up in the city with a knife in his hand and fought the police and got shot. And y'all worshiping him like he's a god. I will never understand the black community. And I have grown a slight disdain for some parts of black culture that's degenerate. It's sickening, it's nasty, it's ugly, it's counterproductive, it's un-American. It's no place in America for these dirty, dog-like people. Yeah, I said it. There's a lot of good black people in this world. A lot of them I know. A lot of them are successful right now. But then there's a dirty, nasty part of black culture that is of the devil. And it starts with these black leaders who lead these cities into turmoil. Black leaders who lead culture into turmoil. People like Jay-Z and what's the boy that play basketball? LeBron James. They are all detriments to the black community. They are a detriment. And the reason why they're more of a detriment than a thug hanging out on the side of the street is because they have a platform. They are sheeps. They are wolves in sheep's clothing, meaning that they present themselves well. They're very successful. So then they get influenced. And once they get influenced, they throw you off a cliff. There is no reason in the world that LeBron James should be complaining about anything in this country. He should be telling you how to be successful. He should be telling you how to stay married. He should be telling you how to be a father, how to be a leader, how to work hard, how to persevere. Those are things that LeBron James should be saying, but he's not saying those things. He's telling you how to be a victim. And as he's successful and he's got 3 or 4 houses that some of y'all would die to have, he ain't gonna tell you how he did it. He's not gonna talk about real estate. He's not gonna talk about investment opportunities. He's not gonna do that. He's not gonna spend his own money and partner with other basketball players to actually own a school. He white labeling the school. He don't own that school. The school district picked the teachers. The school district picked the curriculum. He don't own that school. He just put his name on it. And then the city has the burden. Once they meet a threshold of students, the city then take over the tax burden. He's absolved of it. That poor city is gonna have to pay for that school he created. And when him, all of these big time millionaires, they have the ability to help the black community and make a difference, and they don't. But anyway, that's enough. I've said enough. I think I made my statement very clear that these people are detriments, and I'm sick of them lying. Go do your own research. Look at the truth. Quit judging people by the color of their skin and judging by the content of their character. And there's good people in every race. There's bad people in every race. And if you can't get that through your head, then you a loser, and you ain't never gonna make it nowhere in life. You ain't gonna make it far, and you're not gonna have a good legacy. Your legacy is gonna suck. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all on the next one.